Real transformations. How adjustable dumbbells changed my life. Her apartment was quiet except for the sound of her breath. She stood there holding two mismatched weights, staring at the corner where her old gym bag used to sit. Something about that morning felt different, though she couldn't name it yet. For months she'd been caught in the same cycle. Start strong, lose momentum, blame herself, start again. The gym memberships came and went like seasons. Each time she promised it would be different. Each time life found a way to intervene. Work deadlines, family obligations, that persistent voice whispering she wasn't the type who stuck with things. But this time, the problem wasn't motivation. It was something simpler, more practical, something she hadn't seen until it was too late. She'd been doing what everyone does, following programs designed for people with endless time and fully equipped gyms, trying to replicate movements that required benches, cables, machines she didn't own. Every workout felt like a compromise. Every session reminded her of what she didn't have rather than what she could do. The frustration built slowly, like water behind a dam. She'd watch fitness content showing transformations, people lifting in beautiful home gyms or pristine fitness centers. Their confidence seemed effortless, their progress inevitable. Meanwhile, she was struggling to figure out how to do a proper chest press with two static dumbbells that never felt quite right. Part of her wondered if she was making excuses. Maybe the equipment didn't matter. Maybe she just wasn't trying hard enough. Then came the conversation that changed everything. Her friend mentioned something casual over coffee. She'd been training at home for 6 months, seeing real results, and she only used one piece of equipment. Not a full rack, not a cable system, just a set of adjustable dumbbells that let her scale weight instantly without the clutter or the guesswork. At first she dismissed it. Another fitness shortcut, another promise that sounded too convenient to be real. But curiosity has a way of lingering. That night, she started researching. What she found surprised her. Studies from the American Council on Exercise showed that progressive overload, the fundamental principle behind muscle growth and strength adaptation, doesn't require fancy machines. It requires one thing: the ability to gradually increase resistance in a controlled, consistent way. Adjustable dumbbells offered exactly that. The ability to move from 15 pounds to 40 pounds in seconds, to challenge her muscles without waiting, without interruption, without breaking the rhythm of her training. No switching equipment mid-set. No mental breaks that killed momentum. She thought about her old approach. The fixed weights sitting in the corner. To progress, she'd need to buy new pairs constantly. 15 pounds, 20 pounds, 25, 30. The cost alone was prohibitive. The space they'd consume, impossible in her small apartment. What struck her most wasn't just the practicality, it was the psychology of it. Every time she'd had to pause a workout to switch weights or skip an exercise because she didn't have the right load, her brain registered it as failure. Small, almost invisible moments of defeat that accumulated over weeks. The research on habit formation was clear. Friction kills consistency. The more barriers between intention and action, the faster motivation erodes. Adjustable dumbbells removed that friction entirely. She ordered a set that week. When they arrived, she felt a strange mix of hope and doubt. They looked professional, sturdy, with a dial mechanism that clicked satisfyingly as she adjusted the weight. But part of her still questioned whether this would be any different from the last attempt. The first workout was humbling. She started with a full-body routine, testing her baseline strength across different movements. Squats, presses, rows, curls. The weights felt heavier than she expected. Her form wasn't perfect. Her muscles burned after just 3 sets. But something was different this time. There was no gap between deciding to increase resistance and doing it. No excuse to stay comfortable. When a set felt too easy, she turned the dial and added 5 pounds. When her form started breaking down, she reduced the load and focused on control. The feedback was immediate, the progress measurable. She trained 3 times that first week, then 4, then 5. Not because she forced herself, but because the process finally made sense. Each session built on the last. Each movement felt purposeful rather than performative. Researchers at McMaster University found something fascinating in their studies on resistance training. The specific equipment used mattered far less than the ability to apply progressive tension consistently over time. Muscle fibers respond to load and adaptation, not to brand names or complex machinery. What matters is challenging the body just beyond its current capacity, then allowing it to recover and adapt. Adjustable dumbbells made that principle accessible in a way nothing else had. By the third week, she noticed changes. Not dramatic transformations, but real ones. Her shoulders felt stronger when she lifted groceries. Her posture improved from the rowing movements. The constant lower backache she'd attributed to desk work started fading as her core engaged properly during compound lifts. But the physical changes weren't even the most surprising part. What shifted first was her relationship with the process itself. Training stopped feeling like punishment for not being fit enough. It became exploration. A daily conversation with her body about what it could do, not what it couldn't. Some mornings she'd wake up sore, and instead of skipping the workout, she'd adjust the weight and work through active recovery. Other days, she'd feel strong and push heavier than before, surprising herself with lifts she never thought possible. The equipment adapted to her, not the other way around. She started understanding something fitness culture rarely talks about. Transformation isn't a straight line. It's a series of small negotiations between ambition and reality, between pushing forward and listening deeply. There were still hard days, mornings when motivation felt absent, weeks when progress plateaued, moments when the voice of doubt returned, whispering that she'd eventually quit like before. But this time, the infrastructure held. The dumbbells sat there, ready. No commute required, no membership fee, no judgment, just potential waiting for her to show up. What surprised her most wasn't just how adjustable dumbbells improved her experience with home training, but how everything started to feel different once she switched to the right method. She wasn't expecting such a clear change, and honestly, she tested different approaches more than a few times before she figured out what really worked. This isn't a promotion, just sharing real results that made a noticeable difference for her. She'd leave recommendations for anyone curious about starting their own journey. By month 2, her routine had evolved. She'd learned which exercises challenged her most: goblet squats for legs, overhead presses for shoulders, single arm rows for back development, chest presses on the floor since she didn't own a bench. Each movement could be loaded appropriately, scaled intelligently. She also discovered something unexpected about training alone. The solitude she once thought would be isolating became meditative. No distractions, no comparing herself to others. Just her breath, and the weight in her hands, and the weight. Exercise scientists often discuss the mind-muscle connection, the ability to consciously engage specific muscle groups during movement. In crowded gyms with constant stimulation, that connection gets diluted. In the quiet of her living room, it became everything. She could feel her muscles working, adapting, strengthening in real time. Friends started noticing, not just physical changes, though those were becoming visible, but something less tangible. A confidence that came from keeping a promise to herself. A groundedness that showed up in other areas of her life. She wasn't trying to become someone else anymore. She was becoming more of who she already was, but stronger, clearer, more capable. The beauty of adjustable dumbbells, she realized, wasn't just their functionality. It was how they democratized strength training. You didn't need a garage gym or a boutique studio membership. You didn't need to look a certain way or lift a certain amount to get started. You just needed a willingness to begin where you were and progress from there. By month 4, she was lifting weights she couldn't imagine holding when she started. Her body had adapted slowly and steadily. Her muscles responded to the consistent stimulus. Her nervous system learned to recruit fibers more efficiently. The process wasn't magic. It was biology responding to intelligent, progressive training. But beyond the physical adaptation, something deeper had shifted. She'd stopped waiting for the perfect moment to start living more actively. She'd stopped believing transformation required external validation or dramatic gestures. She understood now that real change happens in the accumulated moments of showing up, even when, especially when, it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. The adjustable dumbbells had become more than equipment. They were a symbol of agency, a reminder that she could build the life she wanted with what she had, starting from where she was. There were still challenges, of course. Learning proper form took time and patience. She filmed herself occasionally, checking technique against trusted resources. She dealt with the occasional twinge or strain, learning to distinguish between productive discomfort and potential injury. She navigated the inevitable plateaus when progress seemed to stall. But each obstacle taught her something. Each setback contained a lesson about listening to her body, about patience, about the non-linear nature of growth. She thought back to the person she was 6 months ago, standing in that same apartment, holding mismatched weights, feeling lost. If she could talk to that version of herself, she wouldn't promise easy transformations or quick results. She'd say something simpler. Start where you are, use what you have, be consistent, trust the process. The research backs this up in ways that feel almost too simple to believe. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research found that untrained individuals could make significant strength gains with minimal equipment, provided the training followed basic principles: progressive overload, adequate recovery, and consistency over time. Adjustable dumbbells made those principles accessible. They removed barriers. They eliminated excuses without feeling punitive. They met her exactly where she was and scaled with her as she grew. By month 6, training had become non-negotiable. Not in a rigid, obsessive way, but in the way breathing is non-negotiable. It was part of who she was now, woven into the fabric of her daily life. She looked different, yes, stronger shoulders, more defined arms, better posture. But the real transformation was internal. A quiet knowing that she could set an intention and follow through, that she could face discomfort and not run. That strength wasn't just physical, it was a practice of showing up for herself again and again. Sometimes, late in the evening after a particularly challenging session, she'd sit on her living room floor, dumbbells nearby, and just breathe. Grateful for the space she'd created, proud of the person she was becoming, aware that the journey was far from over, but equally aware that she was exactly where she needed to be. The dumbbells sat in the corner ready for tomorrow, not judging her for today's performance, not demanding perfection, just waiting, patient and reliable, for the next conversation between intention and action. When she looked in the mirror now, it wasn't her reflection that had changed most. It was what she believed about herself, what she knew to be true, that she'd only hoped for before. She was capable, she was strong, she was someone who kept promises to herself, and that changed everything. Tell us what part of this story resonated most and which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.